I grew up on channels like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and PBS Kids during the 90s. I believed all of them were good. I more frequently watched CN, but Nick had SpongeBob and PBS Kids had Arthur, so I believed they were both good. I had a big OL TV in my room as a kid. I usually turned it off, but every now and then I just flicked it on and watched for a while. Every now and then, I would awake to the TV still on. Thanks to this, I ended up witnessing something very, very strange one night. For the longest time, I thought this was a weird, nonsensical dream I had. That's what I thought when I first posted about it. For those who didn't see the original post I'm referring to, I'll describe what I saw. I woke up one night, and I saw the credits at the end of a SpongeBob episode. Then, the logo came up. It was very different when compared to what it was supposed to look like. This wasn't anything insane or intense, but it was really weird, to say the least. Instead of the normal Nickelodeon logo I was used to, I saw some really weird cryptic shit in place. First off, the logo was red and the words were backwards. Second off, there were two of the same clip layered left to right, transparent. Some random guy in a suit. You could see it was a video as his mouth was moving and he moved slightly. His voice wasn't heard though. He was shrouded in darkness and had a red tint over him. There was some backwards text in place of the text below the logo. Reversed and flipped text, just like the words on the logo. I didn't know what it said. It faded away and went to commercials like usual. I was confused, turned it off, and went to sleep. I woke up that day, thinking that it was just a weird dream. I continued into this belief until now. I got some responses to this post, but some intrigued me. People had remembered having very, very similar dreams. Various people who grew up with Nickelodeon and the likes remembered having similar experiences. A good bit of them were exactly like mine, with the altered logos appearing after different shows. Some had worse experiences. 3 or 5 had an experience along those lines, but much, much worse. They recalled seeing characters die in gruesome ways or go through horrible things, while some recalled seeing actual NSFL/real gore on the screen. I disregarded these as fake and was skeptical about the more reasonable ones. Some people didn't recall this in the slightest, but were interested by the dream. Some had been convinced that some part of this was a massive troll, either being my original post with the comments or just the comments. I remember I reblogged my own post, talking about the fact so many people were just BSing in the replies and reblogs. I decided to look at the accounts of some of the people who had similar experiences, exact with minimal differences or outlandish. A good chunk of them had stated where they grew up, and it was very similar to where I grew up. This was very, very strange. I thought these were burner accounts, but no, they were actual accounts with a post history with more than just my post. Made before my post, too. That really confused me. That got me thinking, was that actually a dream? That was all this whole thing went after a bit. Then, we get to where we are today. Somebody sent me a message. It wasn't a reply to my post or an ask, but a DM. The person I talked with was okay with me sharing this. His name was Brian. Username, Brian507. They told me that they could answer my questions and that they knew everything about what I and others had experienced. They sent me their Discord tag and told me that if I wanted to talk, I could whenever I was ready. I thought this was fake, but I jokingly entertained it. So I hit him up. He responded after a bit and said he'd explain in a detailed Google Doc or an email. For this, he asked for my email. In hindsight, I should not have trusted him, though nothing bad happened from it, thankfully. The first DM from him after that was this. Just so you know, that was real. What you and others experienced did happen. I should know because I was part of it. All of the major questions you have will be answered in the long-form doc or email, but I can answer the smaller ones here. I asked him some of the smaller questions like he asked me to do. He answered them all, quickly. Those messages weren't as formatted as his first one, so that solidified it slightly in my mind. I asked him if this was all a one-time thing, and he responded, "Nope." It went on for a bit. I can't explain any further, but still, it was not a one-time thing, but a continuous series of things. Interesting. I asked him if there were many other people associated with it. Yes, this was a group, a movement, basically. I'll let you know about the rest later, but right now that's all I can say. I had only one more question. I asked him, "How can I trust you?" He responded quickly, "I have proof. Proof that all of this happened. Flash drives, VHS tapes, everything. So yeah, I have proof. This is all real." I'll share this with you when I'm ready." I didn't have any more questions, so I just waited. Took a day, but I suddenly got a notification from the same guy. Here it is. He linked a Google Doc full of text. I responded with that I'd read it later, and I did. Once I was done doing my dishes, I went right ahead and clicked the document. I will copy and paste its contents here. Hello. This document has everything you need to know about noedolekicn. What you remember was real. What some other people in the reblogs/replies remember is real too. Some were lying for attention, but a good chunk were telling the truth. Nickelodeon had horrible working conditions. At least, it did where I worked. We were consistently overworked. Working hours were extended, and the pay wasn't good enough to justify it. Our boss was a raging jerk, and so much more. I had worked a bit in both the entertainment and the animation industry. I enjoyed it. Nick was the only exception for me. Me and some work friends had the same feeling about the working conditions. I'm gonna list their names below. Jim, Rick, Anthony, Dan, Ben, me. Me and said work friends were really mad about this. Nick was one of the most famous and well-known, mainly cartoon companies. Finding another job wasn't an option in my mind. Things had to change, and it would be best if soon. So, me and my work friends had a plan. We took a page out of the Max Headroom incident and decided to start hijacking the network. We got to creating once work was over. Once we were done, we had created an altered version of the logo. That was what you saw. Many variations were made, different versions where we used different iterations of the Nick logo with the same alterations. That guy in the suit layered over it was Anthony's idea. Said it added more mystery, or something. That backwards text there? It read, "Nickelodeon is not a perfect company. They are horrible and should not exist. It treats its employees like dog's shit. It is an unjust company that deserves to rot in hell for eternity." We began to do this more. Every now and then, we'd hijack the network with altered logos to spread our message. It was an important message, after all. This would go on for a good while. Then, Ben had the bright idea to up our ante by editing the shows. The first time we did this, we did it during an episode of SpongeBob. It was during that episode where Gary leaves SpongeBob for Patrick or something. We just edited his mouth off and gave him big, irritated eyes. Said eyes were from Anthony, edited onto the sponge. He would fly at the screen and scream. Cheesy jump scare shit. The jump scare noise was just Dan screaming at the top of his lungs, edited to sound demonic. Then, it immediately cuts to the altered logo. I was fine with this. Nobody is going to get horrible PTSD from having spooky, scary SpongeBob yell at them on their TV. It'll scare kids, sure, but it's kids. Not saying I have any ill will against kids, but the fact of the matter is that it wasn't anything horridly awful. Also, it wasn't crossing the border into being morally reprehensible. Another one we did was one where Rocco, during an episode of Rocco's Modern Life, had his head turn into a spooky skull or whatever and stare directly at the viewer and do nothing but heavily breathe. Roll the noedolekicn logo. That one was my idea. I wanted to do something that was actually kind of scary, even if it was a little cheesy. Something more subtle, I guess. Rick was allowed to make one of his own, and he chose to use Doug. He put Doug in front of a backdrop of an empty building. Everything was photo negative, including Doug himself. No sound. That was all he did. Cut to logo. We did stuff like this over the movement's lifespan. Just making cartoon characters look creepy? I don't know if you can call them that looking back. It's pretty silly if anything. We decided to up the stakes. One day, Anthony came up to us with an idea. We would have characters die. The first time we did this, it was an edit of Hey Arnold, where Helga pulls a knife on Arnold and stabs him to death before cutting to the altered logo like always. I was also okay with this, as it's not like anybody is going to get mental scars from seeing a cartoon character stab another cartoon character. Some other broadcast intrusion we were responsible for that is in the same vein as this one was this one where CatDog got hit in their heads with a hammer, killing them instantly. Cut to logo. I remember I came up with one where Tommy from Rugrats had his eyes roll to the back of his head, immediately drop dead, and then cut to logo. I don't remember who made this one, but I recall that Timmy's dad killed Dinkelberg with a machete in one. What I do remember about its creation was that Jim voiced a lot of it. This was when it had gotten to the point where we had been creating entirely new episodes to broadcast instead of editing pre-existing ones. Now, the thing is, this went on for a good bit. Then Jim's depraved ass came up with an idea. He had the not-so-brilliant idea to pull up pictures of mutilated/dead animals to strengthen the message. The foul garbage they slapped in there still makes me wince and almost vomit when I think about it. I recall disemboweled, inner-skinned puppies. They'd add it to everything. I felt like I had to stay quiet about it, because at the end of the day, what I was fighting for was important. Notice how I said I instead of we. They weren't really protesting against Nickelodeon anymore. They were making excuses to put shock content on air. I wish I snapped a lot sooner. They decided that they'd attack more sources of Nick-related things. They'd sell tapes disguised as compilations for Nickelodeon shows, and set up many websites advertised as a website where you could download Nickelodeon show episodes for free. The website names were something like nickelodeon4free.com. Thankfully, that URL leads nowhere now. Ben decided it would be a great idea to use real people, human beings, mutilated horribly and mauled in many ways. Intestines strewn about, eyes torn out of their skulls, etc. Suicide victims, murder victims, and people who had been involved in horrible accidents. I hate the fact I felt like I needed to keep quiet. I should have stopped it immediately. The distribution of tapes of course continued, and so did the hijackings. You're lucky you didn't see any of the images depicting dead animals or people. Then Rick decided to up the ante again, as if using real dead people just wasn't bad enough. The people used were adults before. Now, it was mostly children. Children. Dead children. Something that I don't know if I can forgive myself for is the fact that I still kept quiet about everything that was currently going on. But one day I snapped. I refuse to tell you what I mean, but it got much worse. So much worse. They showed this to me. It was this edit of a Danny Phantom episode where nothing special was added until the end. This loud, low-pitch, buzzing noise with an image I absolutely refuse to describe layered over it. I want to throw up so bad even thinking of it. Once my brain was able to process what I was looking at, I acted out physically, tackling Jim and strangling him before being pulled away. I think I threw a steel chair at one of them. I took the tape, stomped on it, ran out, and never looked back. Went back to my house and threw up into my toilet for 5 whole minutes. I decided that they could very easily continue, so I decided to commit to watching Nickelodeon every day to make sure they didn't do anything while I was gone. Thankfully, they didn't. I can send you the VHS tapes and the flash drives, if you'd like. I will offer you all the proof I have if you doubt it all. That's all. I was shocked. Genuinely very shocked. I went back to the DMs with the guy, and I asked for the needed proof. We FaceTimed. He looked somewhere in his 30s. We spoke, and he said he had all the proof. He pulled out VHS tapes from around him and flash drives, asking if I wanted any of them. I did. I have a metal bat inside my house beside my bed, so I decided that if he had malicious intentions, I could just very easily defend myself. Thankfully, he didn't. I heard my doorbell ring, and I answered it to see the guy I spoke with. He had a box, which he opened and handed to me. He walked away. It was all real. All of it. There was no way he was lying to me now, because all of this would have taken way too much effort if he was just making this up. They all ended with the same logo I remembered so vividly seeing. I whipped my phone out to take a picture of what I saw. noedolekicn CRT. What I saw. There it was. The thing I had seen as a kid that I had mistaken for a dream for so long. It truly was real. The clip of that guy in the suit in the red lighting. That all happened. That little doubt in my head was shrinking and diminishing by the second. Not only what I experienced, but many of the things I had seen people say they remembered in the comments were true. The suited guy looked a little distorted compared to what I remembered, but I was barely awake at the time, so that makes sense. The flash drives included assets of many of the tapes. The clip of the guy in the suit unedited, voice clips, etc. I don't think I'll release the tapes and assets today, but I'll try to soon. That, however, is not where this ends. I was scrolling through YouTube the other day. I decided to search noedolekicn or similar terms relating to this whole thing to see if I could find any other traces of this whole thing. It wasn't when I searched for this that it appeared, but it was later when something popped up in my recommendations. It was a video uploaded in 2013 or 2014 that was taken down before I could re-upload it or take a screenshot. It was a video with the title of something like "Illegal Edit in a SpongeBob DVD during Are You Happy Now?" The thumbnail had a guy filming his TV. He was speaking in the beginning once I clicked. Hey, so I'm a father, right? My kid loves SpongeBob, so I got him a DVD as a gift. And he came to me after a bit screaming, saying that bad things were on the TV, begging me to look. I looked and I can't wrap my fucking head around this being in something for kids. I'm gonna play it for you now. He inserted the DVD, and I immediately saw a very bootleg-looking DVD selection screen. Episodes listed were normal, until the dad filming picked, "Are you happy now?" He fast-forwarded until the suicide joke happened from the original. Cue Squiddy pulling a rope down while saying, "Maybe this will make me happy here." However, instead of pulling down a clam in a cage which promptly sings, that doesn't happen. The screen pauses, and Squidward's face changes after a while. He grows a giant-ass grin, and his eyes become this bright, vibrant red. He grins, and his head violently twitches. This annoying-ass noise played in the background as Squidward twitched violently. It cut to black, purely silent for a few seconds. Then, we see the video cut back in. Squidward's legs on the top of the screen, swinging left to right, with the sound of a swinging rope playing. This was clearly meant to portray that Squidward had hung himself. This really weird, distorted music track playing in the background, sounding reversed and purely wrong. Then, the screen went blurry, and you could see colors of crimson and human skin where the TV screen was located. The sound of many people screaming into a mic played over it. The dad filming reacted, "That's alive, dead child. Why would this be in here?" He continued to hyperventilate. When the blur went away, I saw a familiar logo. The same logo from those hijackings. I was immediately taken aback when I saw that. There was no way. Jesus, I don't know who to call or what to do. I'm gonna call the cops. Fuck this, man, Yezu. The video cut off as the man filming stopped the camera. I was extremely shocked, and I immediately went to contacting Brian about it. I linked it to him, and I told him to watch the whole thing through. He responded a bit later. No, they didn't. They're doing it again. What the fuck? I am gonna find them, I need to. My blood is boiling. How? God, no God, please let this be fake. Those scumbags had the audacity to keep this U-Paul this time. Shit. How did they keep making that garbage UP to 2013? Please tell me this is a lie, please. What if they're still doing it? What if they're doing it right now as we speak? God, no. Fuck them. I thought I got them to stop when I fought back. Where do you think they are? I said, I don't know. He said that he would have to go back on his way and unadded me.